Hello everyone! We're now moving into the advanced section of Marvelous Designer. Using the t-shirt we created in the basics tutorial, let's learn how to achieve a more realistic and high-quality t-shirt rendering. This time we'll focus on rendering the collar. Since the realism can vary significantly depending on how you add thickness and apply textures, I recommend having a real t-shirt nearby to reference as you work. This will help you understand the details better. First, change the garment rendering style to thick textured surface from the toolbar in the 3D view. This will display the fabric's thickness and texture more clearly, allowing you to work while checking for a realistic finish. Looking at the current collar, it's still far from looking realistic. Let's start by improving the basic settings. Since the collar is a small, detailed part, we need to decrease the particle distance value for a cleaner look. Select the collar pattern, lower the particle distance to 5 mm in the property editor at the bottom right, then run the simulation. This will improve the collar's shape. Actual collars have thickness from folding and finishing the fabric, creating a double-layered effect. Since the 3D collar uses only a single layer of fabric, it appears flimsy. We'll add thickness to the collar. Marvelous Designer offers 2 ways to add thickness. Method 1. Add thickness to the fabric. This method is useful when other parts using the same fabric also need thickness. In the object browser, click the fabric applied to the collar. Increase the thickness value in the property editor to add thickness. Adjust the thickness while comparing it to a real t-shirt collar. Method 2. Add thickness to individual patterns. This method is useful when thickness is needed only for specific patterns. Select the collar pattern and check the property editor. Increase the value of Add Thickness, Rendering under Geometry to add thickness only to the collar. Next, adjust the collar to body seam to a more realistic position. In actual garment construction, the collar seam often starts slightly behind the side neck point, so let's replicate this. First, create the point where the seam will start. Since we want a point 2 centimeters behind the side neck point, switch to the Add Point to Split Line tool. Right-click the neckline on the back bodice. A dialog box will appear. Enter 20 mm in line 1 and click OK to create the point at the precise location. Next, delete the existing sewing and set up a new one. Switch to the Edit Sewing tool and delete the collar to body sewing using the Delete key. Select the MN Free Sewing tool and start from the reference point created on the back neckline. Sew around the neckline and press the Enter key when you return to the starting point. Sew the collar to the seam destination and press the Enter key to complete. This creates a more realistic seam position. Next, let's add an authentic t-shirt texture. The library offers various fabric presets, so let's take advantage of them. Open the fabric folder from the library in the top right corner of the screen and look for options like cut, sew, knit, or rib. Double-click to add it to the object browser. Drag and drop the added fabric onto the body pattern to apply it. This applies an appropriate knit fabric texture to the body. Substance materials are material data with highly realistic textures. Marvelous Designer supports substance materials, so we'll apply one to the collar. Within the Fabric folder, locate the Substance folder. Add stylized ribknitwool.sbsar and drag and drop it onto the collar pattern. This applies the rib knit texture to the collar, but the scale and color need adjustment. Adjust the color and the size of the rib knit stitches. Select the fabric applied to the collar and open Transformation in the Property Editor. Ensure aspect ratio is checked, then decrease the percentage for either width or height to make the pattern smaller. Adjust to your preferred size while looking at a real T-shirt for reference. To change the collar color, open Custom Properties and modify the color via Fabric Color. This applies the realistic texture of rib knit fabric to the collar. Once these settings are complete, press the spacebar to run the simulation. If the collar appears distorted, right-click and select Strengthen. Running the simulation again will make the collar stiffer and should fix the distortion. The Strengthen function is often used when you want to correct the shape of just one specific area. Once you've shaped it with Strengthen, if you don't want that area to change further, you can right-click and select Freeze to lock it in place. The most crucial aspect of detailing is observing the real thing. Take an actual T-shirt and examine it closely. Ask yourself, how thick is the collar? Where exactly does the seam start? What does the fabric texture look like? And how large are the stitches? Developing the habit of observing these details will enable you to create more realistic representations.